like to call the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and Glendale Economic Development Corporation for March 14th to order. Please, roll call.
Council members Garpetian, Najarian, here. Sinanian,
here.
Mayor Devine.
Here.
Roll call for the board. Board members Garpetian, Najarian,
Here.
Sinanian,
Here.
Chair Devine.
Here. Next item.
The agenda for the March 14, 2017 joint public meeting of the City Council and Economic Development Corporation was posted on Friday, March 10th, 2017 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Before you is Director of Community Development regarding Glendale Arts fiscal year 2016-17 first and second quarter reports and financial statements. 1A is council motion for note and file report. B is the Glendale Economic Development Corporation motion to note and file report.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, ma'am. In our efforts to stay current on the quarterly reports from Alex Theater, Glendale Arts, we will go forward with this first and second quarter report, and so either Jennifer or Ms. Glickman will come up and give you that presentation. Who lost the coin toss?
I'll kick it over to Ms. Glickman in a second here. All right. Well, good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. As Mr. Ochoa mentioned, before you today are the quarterly financials for the fiscal year 2016-17 first and second quarters for the Glendale Arts and Alex Theater. As you review the reports, you might experience mixed emotions. On the one hand, you'll see that the number of bookings has increased by about 40%, up to 100 compared to last year at this time. And we've also seen a net surplus. On the other hand, we've also seen that surplus is about $100,000 short of what it was at the same time last year. So some of what we're seeing is that even though we're having more bookings, there are associated costs with that, and it doesn't always mean that number of bookings translates to revenue. So I'll go ahead and just go through some of this background very quickly, kick it over to Ms. Glickman, and send you on your way. So as I mentioned a couple of months ago, you may have noticed in the reports that we take a look at both set of financials for Glendale Arts and the Alex Theater. We do this because Glendale Arts is responsible for managing the Alex Theater, and Glendale Arts shares resources, including some of those staff costs. So it's difficult to look at one set of financials without observing the other. Within this agreement, which was approved by the City Council back in 2015, there are several provisions in it. One of it is that we have a management agreement where the city pays Glendale Arts, at least for this fiscal year, $415,000. Next year, that figure will be $200,000. There are other requirements within the agreement, including quarterly reports, which is why we're here today. And there's also a booking number. So there are mandates stating that the manager will use their best efforts to try to achieve a minimum number of days. And for this 2016-17 year, it'll be 230 event days. During the last fiscal year, they were able to hit that 225 figure. Some of the highlights in the report, as I alluded to, are that bookings are up. They have 100 events that they saw in the past 6 months versus 62 compared to last year. That resulted in nearly 40,000 patrons coming to the Alex and an economic impact of roughly $650,000. And that's assuming that each patron spends about $16 while they're here in Glendale at the restaurants or nearby businesses. Another item that Alex Theater started monitoring were the rental subsidies. Glendale Arts and Alex Theater, it's a community-based community-based arts organization. So they began monitoring just how much they are allocating to support local nonprofits and resident companies. I mentioned bookings. So some of the bookings in this past 6 months included rehearsals, cultural performances, and educational performances. One of the largest high-profile events that the Alex Theater saw, regardless of your political leanings, was Bernie Sanders with Sarah Silverman. This was presented by Pasadena's Vroman's Bookstore. We saw other events which included Marilyn, which is the brand new musical based on the life of Marilyn Monroe, the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra, the Nollywood African Film Critics Award, Gay Men's Chorus, and corporate events, just to name a few. There are other bright spots within this. We continue to see the payoff of obtaining that full liquor license. The gross sales increased by about $28,000 in the past 2 quarters. The Open Arts and Music Festival, this was the inaugural event, which attracted about 3,000 folks throughout the day. This was an event that was supported by City of Glendale's Library, Arts, and Cultural Commission. This year, I think that they have a very aggressive sponsorship tactic. And then in the community and fundraising efforts, the Alex Theater's 91st birthday was celebrated, which also launched a seat naming campaign. There was an open shows event that was hosted out in Maryland. And there were also the Glendale Arts, which honored, Glendale Arts was honored by the Glendale Educational Foundation. And just specific to the Alex Theater figures, so in the first quarter overall, the net income was $71,000 compared to the previous quarter at this time, which was about $125,000. This disparity is due to the Act Out program. This is the Act Out educational program, which is typically it's a low yield event, so they have lower rent, no concessions, low ticket income, and a lot of staff time. But it's something that the community, particularly the young participants in it, greatly benefit from. In the second quarter, we saw the net income fall to $80,000 compared to the previous year's profit of about $91,000. I know I'm being very hard on Alex Theater right now with it falling short compared to the previous year. I should note that it did exceed its budgeted amounts, and it's still in the black. So the total net income is $151,000 for the Alex Theater, and Glendale Arts has $132,000 in net income. This is a slide that I showed you previously. So the green circles are good, the orange circles are bad. So what we see is that from the previous year, for the first time in 5 years, Glendale Arts saw the largest surplus that it had. If the trajectory continues, right now we have about $132,000 net income. So if all things being equal and they continue with the number of bookings, it would be safe to assume that we will continue to see them at least hit that $199,000 surplus. So looking ahead, I know Elisa can go into greater detail about what we can expect in the third quarter, but there's a donor wall right now that is being that's being developed, and they're looking to sell spaces on that donor wall to really generate about $1 million by 2020. As far as enhancements, the Alex Theater and Glendale Arts are constantly looking at how to improve infrastructure. There's an anticipated 22,000 network enhancement project. And then finally, with community events, I'm sure that you have already heard and purchased your tickets for the Taste of Downtown Glendale, scheduled for April 26th, and the Open Arts and Music Festival, which is scheduled for September 2017. So with that said, I would like to now kick it over to Ms. Elisa Glickman. If you have any specific questions about the financials or anything else related to the Alex or Glendale Arts, Elisa will be happy to answer those questions. And I'm available as well. Thank you.
Lisa. I will open it up to my colleagues.
Just a question. What was the Act Up that caused it? I didn't get it.
So Act Out with Alex was a youth education program that Glendale Arts launched last year. It was a 5-week summer intensive. We had middle and high school students who participate, primarily on scholarship for that 5-week period. They learned dance, playwriting, music, a whole host of things, and then there was a culminating performance on the Alex Theater stage. Almost all of the rehearsals and education time was spent at the Alex Theater, or we rented space from the church behind us when the Alex was busy, and then the final performance, as I said, took place at the Alex Theater. So we had just under 20 student participants, all of whom got some sort of partial or full scholarship. And then Glendale Arts paid partial rent for those days and then covered staff time. So it gave us 20 additional rental days during that quarter, but those were, as Jennifer noted, low yield days, meaning that we didn't collect ancillary fees above and beyond our hard costs.
Are we going to do that this coming year?
We're doing some sort of modified educational programming. We anticipate that there may be a long-term summer booking at the Alex this year in anticipation of that coming through, which we hopefully will find out in the next week or so. We did not plan to utilize the Alex Theater space to the level that we did last year, but we will do some sort of educational programming.
Councilmember Sinani?
So last Sunday, we just spoke shortly. Last Sunday, we attended the second performance of the Glendale Youth Orchestra, the second of the season, and I think we're all very glad that we went. We've had folks come out and advertise their concerts in the past, but I personally hadn't had a chance to really listen to their music, and it was explained to me later on that the orchestra had a much closer relationship with the city of Glendale, I guess in terms of what Glendale did for the orchestra and just how much of a Glendale Youth Orchestra it was. And I think we all agree, I speak for Councilmember Garpetian on this issue, it was an amazing performance, amazing. These kids are as close to a professional as you can get. So one of the problems that they face is they obviously have to pay the Alex some amount of money. And that's a huge burden on an orchestra that's not there to make a profit. It's not a profitable operation. Is there things that we can do to help them out?
Well,
How much money are we really gaining from it? And
not to put you on the spot, Executive Director of Glendale Arts. No, no, absolutely. No, we love the Glendale Youth Orchestra, and they've been a resident company with Glendale Arts and previously the Alex Regional Theater Board for more years than I've been here, so I think close to 20. And their orchestra has seen ebb and flows over the years, and as you astutely put it, they are a phenomenal performance group. Their artistic director is Juilliard trained. Their board and their staff is all volunteer, primarily parents of the students who participate, and they operate primarily on contributions, grants, and membership dues of the students who participate in the orchestra itself. As a resident company, they enjoy the 35% resident company discount that all of our resident companies receive. We have talked to them about some other things that we might be able to do in terms of rental assistance. One of our challenges is because they feel very passionately that Sundays are the best day for them to perform. Really, the best assistance that we could provide them with is during the week. But in addition to their rental discount, we also offer them a host of other amenities, including marketing assistance. We waive ancillary rental fees for, say, music stands, or they get a reduced cost on some of those. So we as much as we possibly can, try to assist them. And just before their performance, we actually met with their board chair to talk about some things that we could do together moving forward. But really, from our standpoint, in order to keep it equitable between all of our resident companies as well as our other nonprofit groups, we can really only work with them, as I said, on steeper discounting during the week. That being said, we've provided them, when they applied for Los Angeles County Art Commission interns, they needed a office space. We provided them with free office space to house their intern, and we kind of helped them oversee that program for a while, and some other things. So I think in their case, ongoing support goes much further beyond just what we can extend to them. And really, if you do the math based on the ticket numbers, they could break even if they could sell 100 to 150 more tickets. So they're running such a lean operation that really the best thing that I think we as a community can do is spend $15 on a Sunday afternoon and go see them. Not only will people have an extraordinary and rich experience, but they will get them to the point where It's not about subsidies. It's not about free rent. It's really about selling a $15 ticket and having people experience that. So it's really about each of you going out and sharing your experience with the community and convincing people to come see them.
Okay, I'm trying to wade through that. So obviously, there are many worthy groups in Glendale, and many art troops or organizations that you interact with, and the city of Glendale interacts with. And that question is obvious. Well, why them? I mean, why we do something special for them or extra for them, as opposed to treating them as a resident group, for example, like many others. Why not for others? Well, this is a youth orchestra. It's for children.
And they bear our name.
They bear the city of Glendale's name, and they bear it, from at least what I saw, proudly. They make us proud. They do such a good job. So I don't know. Maybe I need to lobby my colleagues.
Well, you don't have to lobby me very much.
There you go.
Because
So there you go.
I appreciate everything that you're saying, and they had almost a full house. I mean, they had a lot of people there for the concert.
They had a house count of 400, so there's certainly room for them to grow in terms of their ticket sales capacity. But most of their audience, as well it should be, are family, friends.
Sure.
I would personally love to get, and I know that the youth orchestra would also love to get more of the district involved and more students in attendance, and maybe there's something we could collectively look at in that regard. Because I think in order, at least from what I found, in order to get around the why them, not me conversation, the best thing that we can do is help these groups build an audience of potential members of the orchestra down the line, people who are music appreciators. A lot of the students who participate in the orchestra, their parents are professional musicians with the Phil and the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra. So it's really, as you said, both of you said, it was an extraordinary opportunity for these students.
Well, it seems to me that marketing is the key to this, is to get the word out to the community that if you are a symphony aficionado, or that you love to go down to the music center for the Philharmonic, that right here in our own city, we have this glorious group of young people in this orchestra that are, I don't know, I was just so impressed with them. I mean, they're outstanding. I'd say almost professional. They're just like on the borderline of being absolute professionals. With the two soloists that they had were amazing young women. I think marketing has to be better, and I don't know if you can aid in that or if that's up to them to do that. But
I certainly think it's a combination of both. And as I said, we have tried to provide them with some assistance, and I know Maria Sahakian from my office, who oversees marketing and rentals, has been talking to all of our resident companies about group marketing possibilities and some other things. I mean, it's interesting that the way our resident company process is structured, we have half of our groups that are professionally staffed by paid staff, and then the rest of our groups are volunteer driven. Paid staff, Laco, Los Angeles Ballet, Gay Men's Chorus, they really have it together in terms of their ability to reach a marketing community. Whereas our volunteer groups like the GYO, the Musical Theater Guild, and the Alex Film Society all do phenomenal programming, but have deeper challenges in marketing because they don't have a dedicated staff person to do that. And that's one of the things that Maria has been trying to work with them individually on. But I think having the voice of this council, the appreciation of this council to really champion those groups, especially the GYO, it's the best $15 that anyone can spend. And I think that if we keep saying that enough, people will get the message.
I have a question.
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
How come we didn't get a photo with? I didn't get a photo with Bernie Sanders when he was here.
Were you there?
I was there. And he actually ate
answer that question.
He actually ate at Carousel apparently, because I was getting texts like, Bernie's here. He's eating.
Did you tell him that it was Larry David and not Bernie Sanders?
Anyway, it was great having him in Glendale.
It was an extraordinary night, and it was one of those things where, again, I say this to people all the time, for the right event, again, regardless of your political positioning, for the right event, people will drive from all over Los Angeles to come to Glendale. And that is
the
one
line,
of those events.
I don't know if anyone who drove down Brand saw the line into the Alex. That was special.
And if you looked at the zip codes, like I did, certainly we had a lot of folks from Pasadena, where Brahmins is housed, but we had a tremendous number of people from the West Side. And we probably, of the 1,400 seats, because it sold out in 2 hours, that were designated, I probably saw 100 people that I recognized from Glendale, and everyone else was new faces. And all of the surrounding businesses keep asking me when we're going to do another one again, because they, Eden Burger, Carousel, all of them really saw a bump on a Tuesday night from that type of activity. So that's exactly why we're here doing what we do, for that exact reason.
And I understand you had a good turnout for the ballet on, I think it was Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people, how many attended?
Los Angeles Ballet, I think they did just under 1,000 for that show. Balanchine was the format. It's very modern. It's not the most accessible to the widest audience, but over the last decade, the Los Angeles Ballet has created quite a following for themselves, and so they have a very strong subscription base, and our numbers continue to grow with them. It's a beautiful piece of programming. For the community out there who's not seen them, the LA Ballet is really a spectacular dance group.
My question to you is, looking at the numbers that we see today, can you let us know or give us any assurance that, I mean, right now you're, what, 199,000, that you will be able to meet that management fee, the 200,000 next year?
I mean, I'm not in the businesses of seeing the future. If I was, I'd be on TV making a lot more money. But what I can tell you is that the same tactics that we've put in place to get us to the 225 and now to the 230 are the same tactics that we're working on for next year. And the key for us is the summer. If we can get summer dates booked, then that gap will close exponentially. 240 or 245, I don't recall, is next year's goal. And I think that that's extremely obtainable, assuming, as I said, we can get that summer booked. Some of the differences between last year's economics and this year's economics was really, this year we staffed up. We added additional staff people who came on in the previous fiscal year were now eligible for health care and 401k benefits and all of those things. So that obviously, increases your costs. But I think between our fundraising foundation that the development department has built and our rental department's efforts towards increasing dates, that's how we're going to achieve that gap closure between earned and contributed income. Can I promise that? No. Can I say that based on past history, when we came from 175 to 180 days in 5 years ago before the construction, and then shortly after the construction, now to well past 200, I feel very confident that we'll get there, but I won't make 100% guarantees.
Thank you. That was my only question. Okay, then, are we ready to note and file? Do I need a motion from the
I'll second.
for council? Roll call, please.
Council members Garpetian, Najarian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Devine.
Yes, and for the
Board.
economic?
I'll move it.
Move the item.
Second?
I'm sorry, I'll second.
Roll call?
Board members Garpetian, Najarian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Chair Devine.
Yes. Next item is adjournment.
So
Do I have a motion? Second?
Second, move to adjourn for EDC.
So, second?
And that takes care of both?
thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned at 3:30. Thank you.